Özgürel is the founding managing partner at Tanto Capital Partners. Nice to see you, Ozan.
Likewise.
What do you make of yesterday, and have you executed any trades on the back of what you saw yesterday in the market?
First of all, I have not, because I don't think yesterday was the kind of day that you want to be executing trades on necessarily. A lot of information coming on, not necessarily quite clear. As opposed to what some people said, this was not a black swan event. I think this was very much a gray swan event.
Yes,
it was a known unknown.
absolutely.
I don't understand why people were saying that we didn't know that this existed. No, this did exist. And we just basically are trying to make some sense of numbers that are coming out. I do think, however, that markets have overreacted. I think there was an element of a knee-jerk reaction combined with the fact that this kind of presented an opportunity for some portfolio managers to lock in some gains that they could not otherwise do and to try to find the re-entry point into the market again.
Let me just jump in straight away there. I don't know if it's an overreaction. I don't know if it's an underreaction. But I do know that if this disruptor is as good as it says on the tin, and this open source product, which can be replicated and not using Chinese servers, which takes away that whole security angle with the Chinese and US, then it has destroyed the case for overpriced funding for a lot of companies, both in the private and public sector. It has destroyed the case for the business model, certainly for the people replicating it on OA. Now, in terms of the people who are creating the picks and shovels, that's a different issue as well, and that's more the NVIDIA question. But in terms of what it means for the open AIs of this world as well, hasn't it just blown a massive hole in the side of their business model? So absolutely. I don't know if it's an overreaction.
Look, we don't know just because there's so much data coming in and we are trying to digest as much of it as possible. But to your point about OpenAI, in general, LLMs are supposed to be commoditized, right? So I would argue that an OpenAIs of this world possibly are a little overpriced. I think NVIDIAs of this world, I don't think they really are. I mean, by the way, let's take a step back. I think this is very much a good thing. If this is true, to your earlier point in the show, I think it's a great thing. I think this will fuel the AI revolution and make it much more a permanent fixture in all of our lives. So I think for a lot of the AI markets out there, this is good, but it is just too early to call. We just need to understand what this means.
Let me bring up the NVIDIA point. 600 billion stripped off the market cap yesterday. And a lot of fund managers were saying to us last year, NVIDIA is the biggest risk in their portfolio. If you went in it, the upside that the stock had and the underperformance in your own fund as a result. Now it could go either way, couldn't it? That it could still go up, and that was the entry point we saw yesterday because we're still on the S belly of the curve and not quite there yet. Or it could go down because of the overbaked expectations around these huge margin chips that has been bringing to market.
Look, I'm not saying that you'd buy the dip. I think for a stock like NVIDIA, it's very much a thematic long-term stock. I believe in the future of AI. I think AI is going to be a part of our lives completely. I would argue...
Got a whole lot cheaper as well.
Exactly. I would argue that humanity right now is evolving at the speed of light. And I think this speaks volumes to the kind of opportunities around investment that we're going to see. Now, if I am an energy company, and at Davos we were talking a lot about the need to invest in the energy infrastructure around AI, we'll see what this means. But most certainly I think this is a good thing for the humanity overall. The one thing I will say though, again, around these gray swan events, I think investors really need to get the memo and start pricing in these things much more proactively. Because just imagine what will happen, not if, when quantum computing becomes a thing. It's going to change everything once again.
Didn't we have some really smart person, I'll find the quote, saying it's still 20, 30 years away, quantum, from practical application?
Who knows? Do we? I don't think so.
Yeah, I got pushback on that in Davos, I've got to say.
Jensen Huang, wasn't it? Was?
Yes, but I was just saying I got pushback, and those that are close to it saying, look, it's here and now.
Well, if Jensen Huang says it's not, Jensen Huang, if it's not here yet, who's going to argue with him?
I think Jensen Huang's got bigger things to contend with in the next 24 hours, I've got to say.
No, hang on a second. One thing these guys have proved, the Elon Musks of this world, is they can handle more than one thing. So I think he can juggle more than one ball.
Maybe down the track, in the next 24 hours, I dare say it's about DeepSeek.
Don't you think that this also shows the fragility of the investor mindset around any story that you tend to buy into? I think, I mean, you know, this kind of reaction yesterday, I'm not saying that there should not have been a reaction, but should it have been
wasn't it a good reaction? I thought the market was really calm yesterday. Okay, do you know what? Companies that are aggressively priced were sold off. The rest of the market wasn't sold off. We didn't see... Loads of sectors weren't sold off. In fact, 6 of 11 sectors in the States yesterday were up. Now, if the market had been irrational, we've all seen episodes like it where we're trying to work out why Marks and Spencer's has been sold off because there's an AI problem. We've all seen those days. Going, well, that just doesn't make any sense. So I thought the market reaction was beautiful yesterday.
I think it was beautiful to the extent that it shows resilience of the broader market. So people are not panicking, saying, oh my God, this is potentially the end. However, I do think that the fact that there's a lot of leverage in the market, a lot of ETFs are involved, and again, I think this is an opportunity for portfolio managers to look in some gains that they could not otherwise do because everyone had to be just long NVIDIA all the time.
To me, if I just dig a little deeper into the tech reaction, it feels as though investors have been piling into technology names because they want this hyperbolic cycle. They want huge demand. And Jensen Huang has been fueling that. The huge demand he's seeing from various different sectors, even more sectors getting involved. You know, every other outing is some sort of hype cycle that he keeps on fueling. To me, the DeepSeek story was one about consistent earnings potentially coming through because it pulls forward the AI cycle, but it means we're going to use more inferencing chips. Companies are going to be, you know, using the AI now, not just training it, and it spreads across industries. Maybe cloud. Again, SAP, we're talking to them today. There's a real link between AI and cloud. It means that you get perhaps more consistency of earnings across the board rather than huge hype in just a handful of names.
That's right. It's spot on. And the one thing with the AI story that has been so different to any other story that I think we had to digest over the past 20 years or so is that these are companies that have a lot of cash, that are looking to invest in real things, that have an earnings story behind it. And
earnings across the board rather than huge hype in just a handful of names.
That's right. It's spot on. And the one thing with the AI story that has been so different to any other story that I think we had to digest over the past 20 years or so is that these are companies that have a lot of cash, that are looking to invest in real things, that have an earnings story behind it, and any development such as the prospective DeepSeek development, is additive to the market, is additive to the overall AI story.
Can I ask you what you do with China now? Because there is a narrative here on China. Does it mean that Chinese tech looks so much more compelling after it's traded at a massive discount to other international markets and technology stocks elsewhere because of the geopolitics? Or is it the very opposite, that Trump gets incredibly worried that the Chinese actually have caught up? They're right there breathing down the necks of American technology companies and gets even more punishing with tariffs. How do we think about this?
I think it's a great question because this year and going forward, the next few years will be where geopolitics will really play an even more important role in trying to understand what is to come. Talk about China. I don't have a 100% answer to that question, but what I can tell you is that with the world that we are operating within, tariffs, Trump tariffs, and the counter tariffs that China may impose will focus and could focus on rare earth minerals, which, by the way, China exports the majority of. So if you're an investor trying to understand, okay, fine, this is my risk, this is how I'm looking to try to hedge it, we should also consider different countries.
Isn't there something really obvious to own on the back of rare earths?
I mean,
obvious,
sure, like germanium and gallium.
Greenland.
Sure.
Sorry, bad joke.
You said that, not me. But actually, joke aside or semi-joke aside.
Well, we've got a great guest on this coming up.
Certain countries become more important as a hedge. For example, Kazakhstan becomes much more important as a hedge.
Let's be brutally honest about it. There's rare earths everywhere. It's just that a lot of places don't want to mine them.
And there's no roads, apparently, according to Rio Tinto.
Oh, they have got some sleds as defence, though, according to Trump. We better leave it there.
Ozan, thank you very much for joining us. Ozan Oscarel with us, founding managing partner, Tanto Capital Partners.